Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I do apologize, it has been a minute since I released an episode. However, a lot has been going on. I recently just moved to Tennessee, so I've been trying to get all of that done, aside from working and everything else. So please forgive me. Um, last time I did a podcast episode, I believe we talked about Code Adam. Well, to continue this season, we're going to be talking about cases that changed the law. And you're probably thinking, cases that changed the law. Why would I do that? Well, because I love anything that sets precedents. I really do. But anyway, to get us started, we will go on with today's episode, Ernesto Miranda and why we have Miranda rights. So how many times have you been pulled over and you got arrested and you told someone and you've been read your Miranda rights? Well, do you ever wonder why we have it exactly? Well, to tell you why we have it, we have to go back to this guy right here, Ernesto Miranda. He was a Mexican immigrant living in Phoenix, Arizona. He was identified in the police lineup by a woman who accused him, excuse me, of kidnapping and raping her. Miranda was arrested and questioned by the police for 2 hours until he confessed to the crimes. During the interrogation, police did not tell Miranda about his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination or his Sixth Amendment rights to an attorney. Funny how they leave that part out. So the case went to trial in the Arizona State Court, and the prosecutor used a confession as evidence against Miranda, who was convicted and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. Miranda's attorney appealed to the Arizona Supreme Court, which upheld the conviction, and he appealed to the United States Supreme Court, which agreed to hear it along with four similar cases. And talking about the case, the court had determined the role of police have in protecting the rights of the accused guaranteed by the Fifth and Sixth Amendment. So what was the decision? Well, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in favor of Miranda. This decision gave rise to what has become known as the Miranda warnings. While jurisdictions have their own regulations as to the precise warning given to a person interrogated in police custody, the typical warning states, you have the right to remain silent, yeah, and all that. So what about a little bit about this case exactly? Well, in Miranda v. Arizona, 1966, the Supreme Court ruled that the detained criminal suspects, prior to police questioning, must be informed of their constitutional right to an attorney and against self-incrimination. The case began with the 1963 arrest of the Phoenix resident Ernesto Miranda, who was charged with rape, kidnapping, and robbery. Miranda was not informed of his rights prior to police interrogation. During the 2-hour interrogation, Miranda allegedly confessed to committing the crimes. When the police apparently recorded Miranda, who had not finished ninth grade and had a history of mental instability. Interesting. He had no counsel. There we go. No. So he had no counsel, and at his trial, his prosecution's case consisted solely of the confession. Miranda was convicted of both rape and kidnapping, sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. He appealed to the Arizona Supreme Court in claiming that the police had unconstitutionally obtained his confession. The court disagreed, however, upheld the conviction. Miranda appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which in which they reviewed the case in 1966. And if you know anything about the Supreme Court, they do not take many cases. So keep that in mind. So the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, which written by Chief Justice Earl Warren, ruled that the prosecution could not introduce Miranda's confession as evidence in a criminal trial because the police had failed to first inform Miranda of his right to an attorney and against self-incrimination. The police duties to give these warnings is compelled by constitutional Fifth Amendment, which gives a criminal suspect the right to refuse to be a witness against himself, and Sixth Amendment, which guarantees a criminal defendant the right to an attorney. The court maintained that the defendant's right against self-incrimination had been part of the Anglo-American law as a means to equalize the vulnerability inherent in being detained. Such a position, unchecked, can often lead to government abuse, as we saw. For example, the court cited the continued high incidence of police violence designed to compel confessions from a suspect. This and other forms of intimidation, maintained in court, deprive criminal suspects of their basic liberties and can lead to false confessions. The defendant's right to an attorney is an equal fundamental right because the presence of an attorney in interrogations, according to the Chief Justice Warren, enables the defendant under otherwise compelling circumstances to tell the truth, tell his story without fear effectively, and in a way that eliminates the evil in the interrogation process. So, without these two fundamental rights, both of which the court ruled dispel the compulsion inherent of custodial surroundings, no statement obtained from the defendant can truly be the product of his free choice. Thus, to protect these rights, in the face of widespread ignorance, the court devised statements that the police are required to tell a defendant who is being detained. So, what do these mandatory Miranda rights begin with? Well, you probably know. You have the right to remain silent, and they have to continue that anything you can and will say will be used against you in a court of law. The defendants are further compelled to inform the suspect of his or her right to an attorney and allow for, or if necessary, provide the defendant's attorney. Hence why we have court-appointed attorneys. Anyway, a defendant's attorney who can accompany him during interrogations. Because none of these rights are afforded to Ernesto Miranda, and the confession was unconstitutionally omitted at trial, his conviction was reversed. So, Miranda was later retried and convicted without the omission of the confession. So, in Miranda v. Arizona and creating Miranda rights, that a lot of us take this for granted today, reconcile the increasing police powers in the state with the basic right of an individual. Miranda remains good law today. Alright, that is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. I hope y'all have a great day, and you have a fabulous summer.